begin the section on how a bill becomes a law. Now, if you look on your lecture notes, one of the things that you'll see is that I have a link to what's called the definitive version. I'm not sure if that link still works right now. I think it does. But if it doesn't, all you have to do is go to YouTube and just type in the words, how a bill becomes a law, and then click on the Schoolhouse Rock version. Because as it turns out, if you haven't seen the Schoolhouse Rock version, you really should. Okay? So normally in a face-to-face class, that's the first thing we do is we show the Schoolhouse Rock version of how a bill becomes a law, but don't worry about it. Let's just get straight into the lecture. All bills, and you should have your lecture notes out again, all bills have to pass both the House and the Senate before they can go to the President. But as it turns out, each institution has its own set of rules. As a matter of fact, the Constitution dictates that each institution can set up its own rules for how it's organized, for the procedures that it uses, although it does set some guidelines. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a bill that's going to go through the House of Representatives and then through the United States Senate in that order. They don't always have to go in that order. That's just the way, to make it easier to understand. I'm going to give you something like the simplified version of how a bill becomes a law. Again, going from the House, then passing the House, then going into the Senate and passing the Senate. But bills can go from the Senate to the House of Representatives, some bills. As we know from the last lecture, when it comes to money bills, bills that spend money, or what we call appropriations, money bills have to start in the House of Representatives, and then they go to the Senate. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the bill, and we're going to assume the bill is something that's going to be called, because it's just easier to do this, Phil's Corn Law. For the sake of writing it down, just call it PCL. PCL, Phil's Corn Law. This is a law, for the purposes of this discussion, I'm a representative from the great state of Nebraska. And I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about my bill, Phil's Corn Law, and I'm going to describe how it goes through the process. So the first thing would happen is I would get my bill, hold on one second. This is going to be my bill. We're just going to call this my bill. I take my bill, and the first thing I do is I go to the rostrum where the Speaker of the House is, and I drop my bill into a box. The box is called the hopper. You don't need to memorize that. But it's just a little box that's up at the front of the House of Representatives where the Speaker of the House, the person who's in charge of the House, goes ahead and that's where they or somebody who they designate sits when the House is in order. So the Speaker's going to take the bill, and the Speaker's going to go ahead and look at the bill. And the Speaker has some options for what he or she can do with the bill. We're going to assume, again, for the sake of this discussion, that the bill is Phil's Corn Law. It has to do with the growing of corn, the transporting of corn, the selling of corn, the popping of corn. It makes no difference. It's about corn. It's a corn law. And so the Speaker looks at it, and the Speaker can go ahead and decide what committee the bill is going to be debated in. What committee is the bill going to be debated in? Now, if there's just one, if the bill deals with, remember I said each committee has its own jurisdiction. It has its own thing, its own policies that it's responsible for. Well, imagine Phil's Corn Law has to do with both agriculture, because it's corn, and small businesses. It has something to do, Phil's Corn Law deals with corn producers who are small businesses. Well, there are two committees in the House of Representatives that might want to go ahead and look at this bill. The Agricultural Committee and the Small Businesses Committee. There's a committee on small businesses. Well, the Speaker of the House gets to decide which committee or committees the bill is going to go to. So, if you look on your notes, you'll see something called, it says single referral. Single referral. In a single referral, what the Speaker of the House can do is the Speaker can send the bill to one committee. The Speaker might say, you know what, I'm going to send Phil's Corn Law to the Agricultural Committee, and then the Agricultural Committee can work on the bill. That would be called a single referral, when a bill goes to one committee. Then there's something called a multiple referral. Maybe the Speaker of the House has decided that since the bill has to do with both agriculture and small businesses, she wants people in both committees to look at it. Well, what she can do is she can do what's called a multiple referral, and that's on your lecture notes. She can do a multiple referral. That just means that she's going to send to, or he's going to send the bill to two committees. So she can say, you know what, I want the Agricultural Committee to look at the bill, and I want the Small Business Committee to look at the bill. She can do it either way, or he can do it either way. So the Speaker of the House can do a single referral or a multiple referral. Multiple referral can be 2 committees, 3 committees, or 5 committees. But for the sake of both this discussion and then our exam, we're going to assume that Phil's corn law got a single referral. So it's just going to go from the Speaker of the House, right? And then what it's going to do is it's going to go to the Agricultural Committee. Now, the first person who would look at the bill would be the chairman of the Agricultural Committee. And that's what this is right here. The chairman of the Agricultural Committee. So first it starts off with the Speaker, and then it goes to the chair of the Agricultural Committee. Now, the chairman of the Agricultural Committee, the first thing that he's going to do, or she's going to do, chairman can be both, is going to look at the bill and look at what it's about. What issues does it cover? And in this case, what we're going to assume is that the chairman of the Agricultural Committee looks at it and says, I'm going to send this to a subcommittee, right? A subcommittee. So now we're down to here, the subcommittee. As I said to you in the last lecture, in Congress, committees have their own jurisdiction, the things that they're responsible for, the issues that they're responsible for. And the subcommittees have more specialized responsibilities. They take all the responsibilities of the full committee or the permanent committee, and they divide them up between each of the subcommittees, and each of the subcommittees handles one of those things. So what's going to happen in the subcommittee? Subcommittee is going to get the bill, and they're going to hold hearings. These are frequently referred to as, hearings. What they're going to do, first let me describe that, is they're going to go ahead and the members who sit on the subcommittee are going to contact people that they know who are interested in producing, who are involved with corn production in some way. The people who the bill is going to affect. So maybe it's going to be corn growers. Maybe it's going to be people who transport corn. Maybe it's going to be people who buy corn, consumers. Maybe it's going to be people who process corn. It's going to be people who the bill affects. And they're going to say, hey, we have this bill. Take a look at it, and why don't you come on in and talk to us? And so different people will come in, and they'll hold hearings. And they'll ask the different people who come in, what do you think about this bill? And listen to what the different people who are going to be affected by the bill have to say. After they've listened to everybody and heard what they have to say, they hold what's called a markup. And a markup really just means a markup. They're actually going to go ahead and they're going to have the bill in front of them. They're going to say, I think we should cross out this section, and then vote on it. Why? Well, because of this reason. And then they debate it and they say, okay, let's vote on it. Everybody who's in favor of going ahead and eliminating that section, raise your hand. And if a majority raise their hands, okay, we're going to cross that section out. Somebody else might say, I think we should add some part to the bill that has to do with another issue having to do with corn. Okay, they'll debate it, vote on it. If a majority is in favor of it, they'll add it to the bill. So when we talk about a markup, they're really marking up the bill. They're actually marking it up, adding things and subtracting things. After they've done all that, after they've changed the bill in all the different ways that they like, got rid of the things that they don't like, added the things that they do like, they have a vote on it. If it gets a majority support, if a majority of people on the committee support the bill now that it's been changed around, then it moves on to the full committee. But if it doesn't, if the majority doesn't support it, the bill dies. The bill dies right there. Okay, and I should, hang on one second. I'm going to go just get a red pen so I can more easily distinguish places it can die. Hopefully this will be better. There, it dies. It dies. If the majority does not support it, boom, it's gone. Now, after that process has gone through, and we're going to assume for the sake of discussion that it now moves up and it goes to the full committee, the full committee is going to do the same thing. The bill has changed a little bit. So they're going to take the bill now that it's been changed in the subcommittee. And there, in the subcommittee, there's just a few members, but in the full committee, it's all the different members. And those members are going to contact people that they know and say, hey, we're getting ready to look at this bill. Why don't you come on in and tell us what you think? People will come in and talk to the full committee now about what they think about this newer version of Phil's corn law. And then they'll do the same thing, propose amendments, propose amendments for things that they want to add, propose things that they want to take out, change the bill around, and then finally, if they go ahead and they have a vote, and if a majority supports it, then the bill will now move to the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee down here. Now, keep in mind that if it doesn't get majority support in the full committee, the bill dies. I mean, the bill dies already. And just so you know, one last thing. If the chairman of the committee really hated the bill, the chairman could basically kill the bill if he wanted to. So the bill could die here. And if the Speaker of the House hated the bill, the Speaker of the House could make it very difficult to get the bill even in a committee. The bill could actually die up here too. So there's a whole bunch of places in this process, as you'll see, where a bill can die. But the two main ones that we're going to worry about, the subcommittee and the full committee, that if they don't get majority support, they're dead. Now we'll go on to what happens in the Rules Committee.